Eagles offensive coordinator Shane Steichen was officially announced as the Chiefs' new head coach today. Who's the best person to go ahead and replace him? The Eagles want to keep Jonathan Gannon and are pushing hard for him to stay in Philadelphia? What? Lane Johnson is going to go ahead and have groin surgery later on this week. And finally, was the field conditions in Arizona the main reason why the Eagles lost? I'm Thomas Mott. This is the Thomas Mott Show. What's up, guys? Thomas Mott here. Welcome to the Thomas Mott Show. On a Tuesday, we are trying very hard to forget about what happened on Sunday evening in Glendale, Arizona, and are moving forward to all the crazy news that is happening this week surrounding the NFL and the Philadelphia Eagles. Some of this we already talked about. Some is new. Let's go ahead and jump into the coaching situation. Adam Schefter has this tweet up. It is officially official as of a couple of hours ago. Quote, Colts announced they officially hired former Eagles offensive coordinator Shane Steichen as their new head coach. Now, this doesn't shock anybody in Philadelphia. I said this, weeks ago, but it was announced really on Sunday that Steichen was probably the favorite to go ahead and get this job. He replaces former Eagles offensive coordinator who also coached in a Super Bowl, Frank Reich, as the new head coach in Indianapolis. Good for him, great for him, very excited for him, but what matters is not what happens with the Colts now. What matters is what happens with Philadelphia and what they're going to do at the offensive coordinator position to replace him. Jeff McLane, Eagles reporter at the Inquirer, has a really good write-up on his Twitter account right now. You see it on your screen. Quote, as far as replacing Shane Steichen, Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni has a decision to make that will likely have a trickle-down effect. 1. Promote either quarterback coach Brian Johnson, likely, or passing game coordinator Kevin Patullo. 2. Make him play caller or take it back. 3. Fill quarterback coach, likely promote Alex Tanney. So you see the kind of domino effect this is going to have. Brian Johnson will be the Eagles' next offensive coordinator. I'd be absolutely stunned and shocked if he is not. It's a 99% chance of that happening right now, and I expect that to be announced either later this afternoon or at some point later on this week. The question will be, who's going to call plays? Will quarterback coach Brian Johnson do it? Once he's officially, elevated to the offensive coordinator position, has Nick Sirianni learned enough taking a year off from play calling to take back the play calling duties? That is going to be the real question mark here, because you want to basically recreate exactly what you did this past season, and the best person to do that might be Johnson, might be Sirianni, remains to be seen, but a domino effect will take place. Very curious to see what happens there, but thumbs up for what what Shane Steichen did as the OC of one of the best offenses in the league, big time impact in Jalen Hurts' young career, and good luck to him with the Colts. Colts are a fun franchise and a good one to root for, and they're also in the AFC, so no worry about that. Okay, from one good coaching news to some bad coaching news here. Jacob Sports has this tweet that's up right now. Quote, the Eagles have made an effort to keep Jonathan Gannon, per Albert Breer. And I read that Albert Breer quote, and it basically says what Jacob Media said right here. They are trying to go ahead and keep him. Now, the latest update on Jonathan Gannon as of this morning is that Gannon did stay in Arizona and interview for the Cardinals job. And so he interviewed for the Cardinals job. He is back, I believe, in Philadelphia. I'm not sure on his exact whereabouts, but interviewed for the Cardinals job. He is one of the finalists, but not officially being announced just yet. And I think Philadelphia, according to Albert Breer, is trying to keep him. They want him to be the defensive coordinator in 2023 and 2024. Now, what you are probably saying right now is, Thomas, why? This doesn't make any sense. We all saw what happened Sunday, especially in the second half, where they could not get a stop on any sort of Patrick Mahomes drives. Patrick Mahomes was 13 of 14 there in the second half, and I agree with all of that. I think what Philadelphia thinks is that there aren't a lot of other good options out there, and that Jonathan Gannon has done enough to prove that he is still a good defensive coordinator in this league. He just needs to work on a couple of things, most notably stopping good quarterbacks. And while that might see a glass half full way to look at it, I think it's the only way to look at it. I don't want Jonathan Gannon to stay. I've said before, I want him to be an Arizona Cardinal. I want him to be the Arizona Cardinals head coach because I think change is necessary. But Gannon has done a good enough job to get Philadelphia to back-to-back playoff situations. His problem is stopping good quarterbacks. And so hopefully, much like the Jalen Hurts progression from year one as a starting quarterback to year two as a starting quarterback is monumental this offseason, hopefully Gannon, if he does stay, takes a good hard look in the mirror, a good hard look at his defense, and does something to change. That way it's not a simple zone cover two that gets shredded by any sort of good quarterback not named Daniel Jones or Dak Prescott. So we will see what happens with this. He still might get the Cardinals job, but early reporting is suggesting Philadelphia is not eager for him to leave. They're trying to keep him and make him stay in Philadelphia, which I'd be very curious to see your comments on that, and so let me know down below. Okay, speaking of your comments, I've still not gotten any sort of email from Philly Sports Wrap, because he, of course, was the person I selected to get the championship game towel. So we're going with somebody else, and that somebody else is going to go ahead and be David Moore. Matt Mott Platinum level member, I'm going to pick you. And so, David, email me, thomasmacho@gmail.com. Let me know it's you. Give me your address, and I'll get that shipped out to you, as I've been trying to give this to 2 people now. We'll see if David Moore, who is a member of the show, wants it. If you do, let me know down below. David, I appreciate you and the rest of the members. If you want to help and support the channel, especially during the off season, become a member down below, and also, of course, subscribe. Okay, moving right along here to some other stuff going on in Philadelphia today. Adam Schefter, another tweet on your screen, quote, Eagles right tackle Lane Johnson, who played through a torn abductor this postseason, will undergo surgery on it later this week, per sources. Johnson delayed the surgery so he could play, and now will have the time he needs to repair and to recover, end quote. And so all the question marks about could Lane Johnson hold up in back-to-back-to-back playoff games was correct. He did. He was fantastic. He still did not give up a sack. He still has not given up a sack in over 2 seasons. He still is the best right tackle in the National Football League. He plays through the pain. Probably was a lot worse than we realized, and now he will undergo surgery later this week and will for sure be good to go for any sort of off-season workout programs. It's not a long recovery. It just would have been too long to have it whenever it actually occurred for him to actually play in the postseason. So huge credit, thumbs up for Lane Johnson gutting through it and now getting the surgery he needs and being able to, be back and healthy next season, hopefully still leading the Eagles to having one of the better offensive lines in the National Football League. Okay. I did mention that the slippage was kind of an issue for Philadelphia and both the Kansas City Chiefs in Glendale, Arizona. And I do want to play this clip from Haason Reddick talking about the terrible slip surfaces and read you some quotes from some other Chiefs defensive players as well. I'm not going to make the excuse that it was the surface that caused Philadelphia to lose that game, but it did have an impact because they had zero pressure, and all the footage I've watched shows both sides slipping and sliding all over the place. Listen to Haason Reddick after the game.
Y'all watched the same game, y'all watched the game we played, y'all saw it. It's a lot of slipping all over that field. Like, it didn't even matter. I changed my cleats, still had 7 studs, and it still was slipping. So, I don't know. I don't want to use it as an excuse, make it seem like it's, I'm not that type of guy. I'm not going to make no excuses. Still props to them. They won. They champs. They should enjoy it. We got next year. I still believe in this team, and everybody on the staff roster will be back. Oh, most definitely. I'm not going to lie, it was the worst field I ever played on.
Worst field he's ever played on. That includes high school. That includes Pee Wee football stuff. And he wasn't the only one. And again, this goes both ways, but there was very little pressure on Jalen Hurts as well. You just couldn't plant your foot and get around an edge if you were a pass rusher. Frank Clark said, quote, the field was kind of terrible. We've had this problem in Arizona before. A lot of these stadiums try to do new tactics with the grass. They try to do new things. I've been playing football since I was 7. The best grass is grass that is naturally there. End quote. More people talked about how terrible it was. Jordan Mailata said it was like playing on a slip and slide. Like it's a fact of life that it was not good. And you get what the Cardinals were trying to do. They had this new $800,000 plan to resod or reseed, whatever the correct term is there, the grass, which of course rolls out of State Farm Stadium to get natural sunlight, then rolls back in there. It's just not good. And it's amazing to me that at the highest level of pro football, when there are only 32 stadiums in the National Football League that you can play Super Bowl in, you would pick one that doesn't have the grass right. Like, there are plenty of stadiums that do. Philadelphia, natural grass, it's great. There's never a problem in Philadelphia. Denver, never a problem in Denver. Like, there aren't problems most places, but there are some places like Soldier Field, like FedEx Field, like Arizona, and maybe even some natural or some AstroTurf fields like the MetLife Stadium that are horrible, and the fact they keep subjugating players to that is terrible. But what's really inexcusable is that it happened in a Super Bowl. Now, again, I know I'm going to see comments saying, Thomas, quit making excuses. The Eagles lost. They did. No one's denying that. We're not saying it was rigged. I'm not crazy, okay? I'm not putting my tinfoil hat on right now, but we are saying that could it have been a little different if Haason Reddick could have not slipped and slid all over the place? Maybe, and we'll never know, but it's something we'll live with for the rest of our adult lives here on the Thomas Mott Show. Okay, we're going to look a lot more into the roster a little bit later on this week. Draft stuff, Quez Watkins, should he stay, should he go? Who are going to be your penny free agents? We're full off-season mode now, and off-season mode is fun. It's fun to speculate and talk about what Philadelphia needs to do going forward, so be sure to subscribe, thumbs up. We're going to have some great stuff for you guys going forward. I'm Thomas Mott. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.